What is going on, guys? It's DigiWatch TCG coming to you with another deck profile. Now, I'm very happy to be starting off my deck profile series for BT10 with a deck I'm going to be trying out just more for a fun time with this deck. And you may be looking at the screen right now and saying, wait a minute, he has a big Jesmon GX on screen. What the heck is this? Well, I'm going to tell you this card is the central point, the main thing you're trying to do in this deck that I'm going to be showing you in just a moment. And before we do get into it, of course, I'm going to read the effects so you generally have an idea of everything and all the stats and explain the deck in order once I get there. But before anything else, please remember to like, subscribe, leave your thoughts below on what you'd like to see next. And especially for this video, I am really looking for suggestions. I always like to be a little different and see what can work and what can be fun. And this is one of the decks I'm going to be testing out a lot, just at fun locals. Usually we have 2 locals for our locals during the week. Maybe I'll be doing this for the Sundays, and then if it becomes a very high win rate, maybe I'll play it more often. So, Jesmon GX is a card that's a secret rare that comes out in BT10 in a couple of weeks, and it's a very, very powerful card. Now, overall, it is a dual color card that's a level 7 red-black. It is a 5 to Digivolve from red or black, but it also has another Digivolution requirement that we'll get into in a second. Play cost 15 and 15,000 DP, so it's a very strong Digimon. Also, just for a moment, just appreciate the artwork. It is a really great artwork, and the altar art is actually even better when you get to see it. Now, the Digivolution requirement that we're going to be abusing in the deck is essentially this one over here that says Digivolve 5 from a level 6 with Royal Knight and its traits. That means that you can actually ignore the color requirements of red or black normally. And yeah, that's really all you need to know about that effect in general, is that you're going to be using everything that you're going to essentially have as your level 6s are going to all have Royal Knights and its traits. Now, it has an effect of 1 Digivolving. You can place 1 Digimon card with Royal Knights and its traits from with a play cost of 13 or less from your hand or trash under this Digimon as its bottom Digivolution card. And then you can activate one of the placed Digimon's when Digivolving effects, then Blitz. So that is all really one effect. And that is amazing, if you ask me. Having the ability to just like copy the effect of so many cards that we have currently in the in gameplay, and additionally we have other cards that are going to be coming in as well in this set, as well as possibly any future sets that we get. So this is definitely a card I feel is going to stay around for quite a while, and also having the ability to Digivolve from black or red is always going to be good. Also, it has the other effect of while this Digimon has a card with Royal Knight in its traits, in the Digivolution cards, it gains piercing, blocker, and security +1 for each card. So that means that if you have possibly more than one Royal Knight underneath it, you can actually do multiple checks with security +1 into there. So you can clear out a lot of their security in essentially one turn. So that is really like one of the big things here so far that we're talking about, is this card is just generally a bombshell of a card. It is one of those cards that can really just devastate anything on your opponent's side of the field, especially if you have the right setup. So now we're going to go into the part of the video where people might say, huh? What's going on here? And it is the deck over here. I'm using a different site, DigimonCard.io. I think it's a really good site, by the way. It's one of the resources I usually like to make decks and just see what is up in terms of any tournament reports. So if you do go over here, you can see that there's different decks and tournament results that come up. But essentially, I'm getting a little carried away. We are playing a yellow and blue Royal Knights deck, I guess you could say. And the premise of the deck, the general idea, is that in Raising, you're going to be having your blue Digimon, which will be your Magnamon, which we'll get to in a sec. And then you have your yellow Tamers that kind of give you your other Digivolution requirements. So let's go into it now, and let's get into it. Yeah, so starting off with the eggs, we are playing the best egg in the game, Upamon. When attacking, if your opponent has a Digimon with no sources underneath it, you can draw 1. So this deck does kind of does not have a lot of draw power in it, in all fairness, and that is something you may want to consider doing when building this deck, is also being able to essentially use the Upamon to get you an extra draw, possibly with Vmons. Now, the Vmons I'm choosing to go with at the moment are two different types of Vmons. This is the Vmon that has the All Force Warp Digivolve effect. It is from Starter Deck 8. Basically, you can, if your opponent has a level 6 on a field, you can Digivolve into your All Force Digimon for only a cost of 4. But the effect you want to use sometimes is going to be the one attacking if you have 7 or fewer cards in hand. Draw 1. So again, giving you that draw engine, but you can always change this out for the Jamming Vmon if you really wanted to. Additionally, we are playing the other Vmon over here that lets you search for a dual color card, blue card, off the top of your deck, so you get to look at top 4 and add one dual color blue. And the ones we are using are about, I think I've come up to about 10 different cards. So we have Magnamon here, which is the other one that we have. I'll talk about that in a second. We have Sakuramon over here. We have Magnamon X, Antibody over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you have 10 targets in your deck that you potentially can get from the Vmon. So that is also another choice that you may want to hard play, or you may want to just put the Jamming Vmon instead of this, or another Vmon. But these are the ones I'm coming up with right now. So then we have the only level 4 that, the only level 4 that's a blue Digimon that we're going to Digivolve with in raising, or just generally bring it out just to be a blocker, is the Magnamon. And Magnamon basically is blocker all turns, armor purge, which means you'll get to keep your Vmon potentially if it gets deleted somehow, and then when Digivolving against 2,000 for every Digimon with armor in its traits, which is not going to be that many in this deck, unfortunately. So those are mainly your, I guess you could say, your inbreeding, your breeding area Digimon over here. And then we have our hybrid package, because we are playing a lot of yellow Tamers, and we are going to I'm probably going to open this up a little further later when I get more playtesting in, when the set actually comes out. But we have the 4 Cosmon, the 4 Zephyrmon, and the 1 Jet Sylphie. Or I'm sorry, if I'm only talking about 4s, it's just the hybrids, but Jet Sylphie's there as your honorary card. But yeah, that's just there for your Digivolution over your yellow Tamers. And then we have our level 5s. Now, the general premise of this deck is to get to your level 6 as fast as you can. So what you would want to do is you Digivolve in Raising into your Magnamon, you push out when you have the chance, and you have a Tamer potentially out there as well. So let's say you have TK, you're going to start at 3, and you would promote out to Zephyrmon, for example, and you would have a blue and a yellow on the field. So then you go into Shakumon, and Shakumon is kind of like your honorary Jet Sylphimon, where you're going to be able to recover. If you have 5 or less security, you can recover 1, and then you can bounce one of your opponent's Digimon equal to the number of security cards you have. So it is a pretty good card. I've always liked Shakumon as a Digimon, and especially one of my favorite cards, honestly, out of BT8. I know a lot of people didn't really play this in many decks, but I do think it is a pretty good ability. Now, this deck in general is somewhat of a toolbox deck, so you kind of manage it in a way that you would with, like, okay, I'm facing this type of deck, so what are they known for? They're known for, like, rushing me, so maybe I'm going to go one route, or maybe I'm going to go another route to be a little bit more aggressive, or maybe this deck likes to go very wide, so I'll go this route. So that's kind of how I constructed this deck. And then we have the level 6s. Now, for our level 6s, we are playing 2 of the Magnamon X. We're playing 2 Dynasmon, 1 Kentorasmon, 1 Leopardmon, and 1 All Force Futuremon 0. Now, I will say that I have done a little bit of testing already with some of these cards, and I might change the ratio a tiny bit, but right now this is pretty standard, like, of where you would want to go, and then whatever you feel like you need to do. Now, if you don't know, all these cards, including the Magnamon here, are Royal Knights in their traits. Although this one doesn't say it right here, they are Royal Knights. They have a different name, Holy Warrior, for the site, but they are under Royal Knight. So generally, everything here can be digivolved into the Jesmon GX. We have our Magnamon X, which is our big blocker, and doesn't have a digivolving effect, which again is another reason why I'm playing these specific ones, because all of them have a digivolving effect, which the Jesmon GX can actually copy and use. So regardless of if it's in your security or you mill it somehow, you can always use one of these guys' effects. Now, going again into our level 6, we have our Magnamon X, which basically redirects if you have an armor form underneath it, and it is used for a few different ways. First, if you have the Magnamon underneath it, you can warp Digivolve into it, but you can also Digivolve normally over Shakuamon as a level 6 if you wanted to for 3 cost. Additionally, we have the Dynasmon, which is trash the top card of your security. Then you can look at the top 6 cards of your deck and add 2 level 6 or lower Digimon along into your hand, trash the remaining, and then all turns when you have 3 or fewer security cards, you can trigger draw recover 1, so you can recover 1 back. So something very important to distinguish is that Jesmon GX carries only the Digivolving effect, not the other effects. So for this effect right here, the all turns once per turn effect would be essentially a effect that is not copied. So the Digivolving effect ends at looking at the top 6 and adding 2 Digimon with 2 Digimon or lower from your deck to your hand, and then trashing the rest. So that would essentially be what Dynasmon does. Now, Contorsmon has also a really cool effect. It's all the way from BT1. A lot of people really forget about this card, and it has the ability of up to 5 of your opponent's Digimon gain security -2, which is going to be pretty relevant because a lot of the decks that are able to swing can only really do like, it's kind of like a Holy Flame in a sense that blankets the field, except your Digimon, if they're like doing stuff on Tamers, it obviously doesn't affect it, but it also has an on deletion effect of one of your opponent's Digimon get 11,000 DP, minus 11,000 DP for the turn. So essentially it takes out whatever it's battling with it, or at least if it's 11,000 it will. So there aren't that too many Digimon currently that are 11,000, so I would say anything that's like a level 5 or potentially a few level 6s that will be coming out in the next meta, in the next set. We have the Leopardmon, which is a very, very powerful card to use in this deck, and I'll explain why. But basically, when you play it, you can play one of your level 4 or lower Digimon from underneath its stack as another Digimon without paying the memory cost. And then all turns, your turn, all of your level 4 Digimon get jamming. So jamming being able to swing to opponent's security and essentially don't do anything. You know, they're not going to be able to die from hitting into a bigger Digimon. And then you have the All Force Futuremon 0, which has the ability of you can place 3 non-Digi egg cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order to unsuspend this Digimon and one of your Tamers. And then once per turn, when a card is returned from your trash to your deck, you can gain 1 memory. So not only can you gain 1 memory with this card, but you can also unsuspend it, which is very cool. It is a 4 cost to Digivolve, which is a little annoying. And again, I guess you gain the memory back. It's really a 3 cost, so that is pretty cool as well. Also lets you recycle, so sometimes that's good against a lot of the decks that take a long time to recover, or like facing against like security control and stuff like that. So now I'm going to talk about the strategies before we get to the options and the Tamers, because this is pretty generic. I'm going to talk about a few of these choices, but mainly the idea is that you would go into your level 5, right? You have Shakuamon, and maybe you Digivolve into your Leopardmon, or maybe you Digivolve into your All Force or your Dynasmon. I personally would think Dynasmon is the best bet to Digivolve into from your level 5, so that you recover 1 and you can gain a memory from that. And then you would Digivolve into your Jesmon GX. Now, Jesmon GX would be able to take a card, one of these other guys, and put them underneath. And personally, my favorite one would potentially be the Leopardmon, because Leopardmon says you can play 1 level 4 from underneath it. So my idea would be to Digivolve into your Jesmon GX, play out the Magnamon, and then now you have a blocker from underneath it, kind of like an honorary Imperial Digimon Dragon mode from the starter deck. And then you're whether it's the same turn or maybe the next turn over, you can Digivolve it into Magnamon X Antibody, and also now have a great shield. So or you can kind of do the process again and Digivolve one of your Tamers into like a Kazemon or something like that, and then you can DNA into a Shakuamon or a Jet Sylphimon and just work up the chain again. So that is really kind of like the idea I had behind this deck initially. Again, it's more of a fun deck. This is not competitive at all. It's just kind of like trying to show some out of the box thinking, and there are other cards, of course, that you could put in, because we have the Gangoku cards, which have a on Digivolving effect. You have other cards, the Jesmon cards, that have on Digivolving effect. So it's something to think about as far as a deck build. Now, some of the options, these are pretty generic. They're kind of just the normal swing into security and hit something that's going to kill you stuff. So we have some bombs. We have Eden's Javelin at 2, because again, we lack a little bit of draw power, so this gives you an extra draw, and then you can delete some lower Digimon, kind of stall them out, kind of like in a sense like security control. Maybe they want to avoid putting anything too risky out, which would be a good idea. We have Reinforcing Memory Boost. We have Wyvern's Breath for big boys. And then we have our Tamer's TK, because half these cards over here you can take, and the other half, essentially, you want it to be in your hand rather than in security anyway. So 4 TK, 2 Zoe, because we do play a pretty half-decent size of hybrids, so you may be lucky enough to get one in your security. If not, I would only play this if, honestly, I knew that I had a Jet Sylphie or I had a Zephyrmon in security. So I'd use the TK, see what's inside there, and like, okay, I have like a Kazumon and Jet Sylphie in there, and then play Zoe the next turn to get that out of security. 1 Kari, because again, you heal a lot and gaining memory is good. I might bump this up, I'm not sure. And then the TK and Izzy Zumi. Now this card really has a few other options. You can do Cody, you can do the other TK Kari, the one that lets you gain 2 if you're if you're losing. You can play the Tai and Kari one, the red and yellow one also. Or you can complete this, cut this, and just put whatever you want in here. But as generally, that's what you're trying to do with most of these cards here. So that's mainly the deck idea. Now, it's in the form of some other things you may want to think about. I'm going to go back to Digimon Dev, Digimon Card Dev. Some things you may want to consider thinking about is putting this Systemon Seal in there as well. You could definitely make some room for it. And basically what you could do is on play, if it's your turn and you have a Digimon, one of your Digimon has Royal Knights in his traits. If it's your turn, sorry, you may digivolve one of your Digimon into a Digimon with Royal Knights in its traits from your hand by paying them at Digivolution cost. And then once per turn, when one of your Digimon digivolves into a Digimon with Huckmon in his name or Royal Knight in his traits, you gain 1 memory. Again, you are digivolving most of the time into a Royal Knight, so it is kind of cool that you can actually use Systemon Seal by playing it, having an extra body in field, and actually digivolving out another card. And you can also DNA into other cards as well. You could put in cards like Chimeramon if you wanted to. So this is a very, very cool card to actually throw in if you're looking to spice up the build. Of course, you could play the other Systemons. I'm going to go back and see if I remember what side. I think it was Double Diamond that most of the other ones were in. So if I go back a little bit in time, I think it's this one, I think. All right, turn on. Okay, yeah, it was. So yeah, this was the deck the set that had the other Systemons. So you have the Systemon Blanc that gets you a draw 1, and then if you have a Royal Knight in play, all your Digimon with Systemon's name gain blocker. So of course there's like things like you play Systemon Blanc. You can play this one over here that gets you 1 memory and then boosts up your other Systemons. So that's something you may want to consider as well. I wish we got these arts, honestly. But yeah, like the idea is that there are so many cards that have wind Digivolvement. Like you throw in a Gangokumon that gets this one, and then your turn, one of your Digimon has an unsuspended Digimon. This Digimon gains security +1. This is not really that relevant because it wouldn't be the Digivolving effect, but essentially you would be able to delete Digimon. So there are like so many ways you can kind of tailor the deck and throw in some like random bodies. You know, if we go back to set 10 for a second, I know I'm jumping everywhere here, but if I go to set 10 over here, we do have some X antibody cards. For example, we do have this one over here, which is just one X antibody. It has a Digivolving effect, but it doesn't really run well with any of the other cards. And then we also have, where are you? The Gankoku X antibody, which is also a Royal Knight. It's, again, another one Digivolving effect. And if you wanted to tailor, put more Systemons in it, you can really just try that as well. You can also put, technically, if you're looking to heal, you can also use some of the Systemons from previous sets, the one that lets you Digivolve and heal 1 if it's played. That's a good one to play with the System on Blanc, whether it's from the starter deck, the new starter deck, or not. So there are many ways, like I said, to you could throw some cards around and just see what works. I did choose for my specific build here to throw the TK and Izzy in here because in most cases you're trying to get to your level 5, and if you hold a level 5 and your opponent has a level 5 on field, then you actually will be able to gain memory regardless of turn. I mean, honestly, if your opponent is ahead of you and they are at their level 5 or level 6, then they're just going to give you free memory. That's why I like this card a lot. Is that you're automatically going to gain one. So if you have like a TK that puts you to 3 and TK Izzy that gets you to 4 or 5 possibly, that's really good. Some other things I might consider on taking out is maybe taking the Kentaurusmon out, because right now it looks like it's not going to be a crazy wide format, but it could be a good card to use in the future. You can take out maybe the All Force Featuremon Zero. I do like this in case like maybe you want to swing into your opponent's security with your like Dynasmon or maybe even your Magnamon X antibody, and it's suspended, and then you can Digivolve into your Jesmon GX, place this underneath, and then have the ability to recycle cards from your trash, and then also be able to unsuspend itself and a Tamer, which there's two Tamers that right now you would have suspended, but of course you do have other ones as well. But that's generally the first idea. This is the first deck I'm going to be having fun with the new support from BT 10, but please look out that I'm going to be starting to put out some of the decks that I modified for the end of format, and that I'm going to be starting to use in BT 10 within the next couple of weeks. But anyway, please like, subscribe, leave your thoughts below, and what shall I see next. Thank you for watching, and have a great day, guys. Thanks.